Hi everyone. Yes, it is a little bit late. I had a few issues with my computer, but it's all working now, so I'm here. Some of you actually come on sometime earlier. Munchie was certainly looking at a situation with Bumrah. In fact, was a very interesting comment with after the day's play that we had several issues with Bumrah. Well, he had cramping around his calf muscle, but he seemed to be okay. So those Chinese snacks will wreak havoc in the fourth innings. Those Chinese snicks. Oh, was it Chinese snacks? I'm thinking food, of course. So I welcome you guys. We're back here, and it is one of those days where a lot has transpired. There's been a fairly good fight back by India, but England yet again have been placed themselves in the front. Although towards the end of the batting of England, certainly of India certainly was impressive. This is a great test match, don't you agree? It's a fantastic test match. Indeed. I'm just going to pull up some information now. Let's have a look here. And certainly Sharma and Rahul have steady after England went ahead is true. Ollie Pope looked quite competitive with his batting performance, and Woke certainly both played particularly significant innings. Of course, India were, as we know, 191 all out the first innings. England finished the day there 3 for 53. But on day two, England continued on and batted quite handsomely to get to a total of 290, which gave them was in fact a 99-run lead. India have taken 43 runs off that, which is impressive enough. And it certainly is one of those days where it took the strength of character of Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul to actually survive the period of time that they had to bat. And they were in bat for some 16 overs. They got 43. So it's a good fight back from India, but it still leaves India trailing by some 56 runs, which, look, by no means is anything to be concerned about this stage if India continue to bat the way they have. So let's look through the actual score. Of course, David Malan returned with Craig Overs, no didn't last long at all. He was out for one off the delivery. Umesh Yadav has been very impressive. In fact, he's certainly warranted his selection. And David Malan followed shortly after. And in fact, at one stage, England were they were in fact 5 for 62 and looking quite shaky, but a very solid partnership between Johnny Bairstow and Ollie Pope saw them get through to a score of 151, where Bairstow actually scored 37 and looked pretty solid. Mohammad Siraj, who hasn't been that impressive in this test match, took the wicket. They put Ollie Pope together with Moeen Ali. Now, Moeen Ali was going along beautifully. Then he played a rather rash shot against Jadeja. Was caught there by Sharma and Robert Sharma. And a catch that he took, but the actual glasses fell at the back of his head. And that took the wicket at that point of 7 for 222. So they had already taken some substantial lead by that stage. And then Ollie Pope continued to bat with Chris Woakes. And Chris Woakes, 50 runs. He's taken several wickets in the first innings. He certainly is a worthy inclusion in the side and has done very well. But Ollie Pope, unfortunately, was bowled by Tucker when he was on 81. He could easily have gone on and scored a century. It was a good return to the side for Ollie Pope. And from that point onwards, only some 5 runs. Ollie Robinson played a rather adventurous shot where he was actually bowled comprehensive by Jadeja. And that left a combination of both Woakes, some 35-run partnership there between Woakes and James Anderson. And James Anderson only contributed 1, not out, but Chris Woakes was ultimately run out with a punt-Bumrah combination for 50. So that was some 99 runs in front. That brought Rohit Sharma, of course, and KL Rahul into bat. And they were able to successfully negate the England bowling and score 43. So albeit it's still in England's favour. India are hanging in there. We're going to see a result in this match. After day 2, we're already into the 3rd innings. We're not going to see much more than a day or so's play, that's for sure. Yeah, there's. Garrett Bank typically says India will lose tomorrow. I think it's some comments. In fact, it looks like Tim Munchie had a good old chat. We've got a person joining us here. Munchie.
Good evening, Norman. Good morning, Norman. Good night, everyone. Your voice is sounding horrible, Norman, so I thought if I come on here, I can answer some of the questions or have a discussion and let you get some liquid down your throat.
Well, I have been in long chats for most of the night, and unfortunately, one was not without audience. So, it was a pretty interesting day, I would argue. But England are still in front. India are hanging in there. They're still providing a fight. But thanks for coming on.
No, it was a very interesting day. I thought England at times, threw the wickets away. I thought Moeen Ali batted brilliantly, and then
that was a bizarre shot. Yeah.
And then decided to attack Jadeja, where it's just keep playing. I thought Ollie Pope batted brilliantly and just chased a wide one. Unfortunately, Thacker had done nothing with the ball apart from providing fodder for the English batsman. He batted brilliantly, don't get me wrong there, but he's just bowling. He just wasn't up to it given the pace that he was bowling at. And Ollie Pope unfortunately got that nick onto the stumps. And Woakes came in and did what Woakes can do. And you've said this before, but I would like to highlight, Norman, you did say that no England batsman would score 50. So we've got 2 of them, Pope and Woakes.
Thank you.
I just thought I'd remind you of that. Yeah. If you're going to belittle England, I thought I'll come back with that.
Did you use the word little or tiny? What did you use?
Belittle.
Okay, belittle. Okay, sorry.
Belittle, yes.
Tiny. That's your name. That's what
I know. But England got a useful lead, but Rowett and Rahul, they batted very steadily. There was still some movement out there. The guys had a couple of snicks, and that was Chinese snicks, and hence Tim's reference to Chinaman's there. So there was still a little bit of action there with the ball.
Let me get this. Let me get me clear on the understanding of a Chinese snick. Run that past the viewers, because that's something that you don't very often hear as a term.
Okay, well, Chinese snick or Chinese cut is when the batsman plays the shot, it then comes off the inside edge, and then the ball passes between the stumps, and the batsman down to fine leg. So it's almost cut them in 2. Now, if you look at Ollie Pope, he hit one off the inside edge, it hit the stumps. The same with Rory Burns. But generally, that Chinese snick or Chinese cut is inside edge, and then comes back through between you and the stumps, then down to fine leg.
So I'm used to hearing the word French cut.
Yep, that's it. It's a similar thing, yeah.
Well, French cut's something different, though. French cut is when it's played when you play French cricket, effectively.
I've not heard the term, but obviously, if that's a term that people use in Australia, but certainly it's a phrase that we use around, that we get in this Chinese cut. Harsh. I'm just going to answer. So a question. Sorry, you have a look for that. You have a look for that. I will. And it's just interesting that Harsh has brought up Jarvo, who came onto the pitch. Yeah, a bit of fun for the crowd, but actually the commentators made a very valid point at the time that, given the pressure of the game, the last thing the England batsman would have wanted was somebody running on and then actually bumping into them. So I don't think you'll be seeing him again. I'm sure he'll be on the ECB red list. A bit of fun. I remember in the past, I was in the SGG for an Australia versus Pakistan day nighter in '89, and there was a naked streaker came onto the pitch, a male naked streaker. So obviously had a lot to drink. But I guess they're trying to clamp down on these things quite a lot. So it's a bit of fun. Yeah. Manu, £10. The fiver is £5, tenner is £10. Yeah.
Okay, so the inside edge in the sport of cricket variously also refers to the French cut or Chinese cut. So Chinese cut is definitely an English term. I would have called it French cut as opposed to Chinese cut.
Yeah.
Or even the Surrey cut or the Harrow drive is what it's called. But that's interesting. I'll be honest with you. I have never heard the term Chinese cut before. Mm-hmm. I've only ever heard of French cut.
Well, the thing is, Norman, you probably played the ball off the middle of the bat all the time, so you never actually hit off the outside or inside edge. Yeah.
Exactly. It is interesting. It's funny how and I'm not trying to brag, but I do know my cricket. I've never heard the Chinese cut. It must be an English term because we certainly don't say that in Australia. You said even the term Surrey cut, so that implies.
I've not heard of Surrey cut before. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just one of those idiosyncrasies of the game. People talk about some of the fielding positions. People have different names for them as well, but it's just it's because the game is developed around the world. It's great. Yeah.
Oh, it is. It is very interesting. Because if I haven't seen it, I was struggling from it. I think Chinese cut. Have I heard that before? No, all right,
Gary. Yeah, sorry, Gary. I've got another one for Gary, but actually, I'll just let you have a drink there, Norman, to protect your throat. Yes, I guess you did meant so many no balls. I am surprised at Jadeja because obviously a spinner should not be bowling no balls. But I think what happens is because he comes down and looks like his foot's going to be over the line, then just drops down behind it. But as a spinner, he shouldn't. And it was interesting. There was some good commentary with Michael Holding, who had one of the greatest run-ups, beautiful run-up, so elegant. And he made the point that obviously he can then run to the track, but with Bumrah, because he's got lots of steps, like a very stuttery start, it's very difficult for him to control his run-up. So, of course, if he's then putting the extra effort in, then probably that's when he's going to overstep, hence the Lord's test when he's bowling bouncers at Anderson. So unless you actually fundamentally say to Bumrah, right, I'm going to change your run-up, you're always going to get this issue with no balls because if you look at him, he'll run a couple of steps, stop, run another couple of paces, stop, and it's only until he's a couple of yards away from the wicket he actually gets into a full bowling stride and delivers the ball.
So, could I just take you back to Jarvo for a minute? This is his third occurrence on the field. You're saying that they're going to take things harshly against him. Do you think that?
I don't know. No, it's Harsh Gupta brought up Jarvo. Hey, Gakarat. Yeah, good night.
How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, mate. I think what will happen is they do clamp down very hard on the guys coming onto the field of play. And I'm surprised that after doing it at Headingley, he got tickets for the Oval.
Yeah. But wouldn't he stick it up though? He's wearing the Indian outfit. It's not like and he normally brings apparatus in with him. So
I don't know. It comes down to security. So and obviously, I think the guys are slightly tongue in cheek by Jarvo slipping the steward a tenner to get onto the field of play. But there'll be things. The ICC will look at it because I think the concern is yes, it's a bit of fun. But what happens when it isn't a bit of fun? When you've got some sort of lunatic that wants to inflict damage or pain or injury on one of the players running on, whereas Jarvo's just trying to make a publicity stunt, whatever. And I think that's the concern that they've got.
I think it's also the point that copycats will occur. That's what I'm more concerned. That's what you're alluding to. Is someone trying to copycat the situation, and that's where the danger is. And you'd hate to see something like for example, if Gill gets excited, he might do that now. How much money would it take, Gill, for you to be the one to run on and do that? What would it take you? Would you do it? Would there be a point where you might consider it?
No.
Okay.
But the one thing is that is quite dear to me is is my own self-respect and my own image, and I'm not going to do anything that stupid to harm it. No. And I mean it stopped being funny when it happened the second time in Leeds. Today was just downright ridiculous. It's those who follow tennis would have known what happened to Monica Seles when someone had stabbed her, and in today's time and time where there's the risk of COVID as well, which goes around, it becomes all the more dangerous. And probably you need someone like an Andrew Simons there at the pitch to take him down now. It's just becoming ridiculous because it's not funny anymore. It was probably funny the first time. Probably a break from monotonous cricket that was happening at that point of time in the game, but now it's just becoming like I said, downright ridiculous. But
did you hear that? Did you hear that on the commentary, Gurkharat, about because they make reference to Andrew Simons, where the intruder came and bumped into Andrew Simons, and everyone was joking that he was one of the characters you definitely do not want to bump into on the cricket field because he's a big lad.
Yeah. Well, I'd actually
seen that on TV when it happened. It happened in 2008 in that Commonwealth Games series when India won that series down under. So I have very, very clear memory of that happening. Anyway, what do you make of the game, Manchi? What do you feel?
I think the game's evenly balanced. I was chatting to the guys a little bit earlier while Norman was injecting himself with his umpteenth espresso to keep himself awake. The weather tomorrow morning looks overcast. I had a quick look at the forecast. It looks overcast until lunchtime, and then it's getting brighter throughout the day. And then Sunday and Monday look very high cloud with some sunshine. Temperatures 24, 25 degrees. Those to me are batting days at the Oval. So the key session is going to be the morning session tomorrow. If there's some overcast conditions and the lacquer is off the Duke's ball, it will swing. And you've got Wokes and Anderson, who are both very capable of swinging the ball. Robinson will hit that nagging line and Overton will come in from his height, giving you that little extra bounce. So the key thing is going to be tomorrow. If the two openers can survive tomorrow, and they did a great job this evening, very solid. Couple of I
thought they were lucky.
Playing and missing, and the Chinese cut that we were talking earlier. But as an opener, I think you're entitled to get away with that because you do get the new ball and you're generally the brunt of all, the bowling. So if they can get through to lunchtime tomorrow, then I think India can put up a decent total. The problem is then going to come is then trying to bowl England out to win the Test match.
You know what I think. This whole series has been about which team has been more generous about letting go of the initiative right from the first Test match.
Yeah.
Whenever you felt that one team's getting too much ahead, the team who should have seized the opportunity or seized the initiative has let go of it. You look at the first Test match where India had such a good start after restricting England under 200, then they lost wickets all of a sudden. Then when they had that 90-odd run lead and had England 2 down, then they allowed England to score those runs and set. And when it looked like that England could set a target of 200 plus, then they collapsed in the end, and India had a 200 run to chase. You look at Lords, when it felt like that India should be able to bat England out of the game after the first day, they collapsed. And when it looked like that England would take a 50 plus run lead, then they couldn't add on too much. And then when it just again looked like that England would drive home the advantage, India had that partnership. Then they allowed India to get away, and then India pounced on it. And same happened in Headingley. Even though England won by an innings in Headingley, I thought that they could have batted better and completely batted India out of the game. They should have scored 500 runs there after having won after being 130 for 0. And
England should have done the same today. I agree. England should have done the same today. England. I know Norman said last night it was 250, and with England being 65 for 5 at one point, I thought, oh God, we'd be lucky to make 150. But when you look at the way that the ball, especially when Siraj and Thakur were bowling, who weren't at their best. Bairstow was scoring well, Pope scoring well, Ali came and scored well, Work scored well. And really, England should have had more of an advantage. I would have liked to have seen at least a 150.
Yeah, if I honestly give my assessment, and I said this yesterday after the toss as well, I said that when you have a trio of Siraj, Umesh, and Shardul, it's a combination of inexperience plus inconsistency. If they are on song, then they could get wickets in a hurry, and if they are having an off day, then they could leak runs in a hurry, which is what happened. Up till the point England had lost 5 wickets, India were bowling well, but once those floodgates opened, then they lost all control. And the last 5 wickets that fell today, all of them were down to poor England batting than India bowling well. If you look at it, Bairstow's been dismissed LBW thrice in 6 innings in the identical fashion. Once to Shami in the first test, then to Ishant in the second, and then today to Siraj. And unfortunately, I think where India missed a trick especially while bowling to Oli Pope, that apart from Jasprit Bumrah, no one challenged his outside edge. Everything was just coming in. I don't know for what reason has Mohammad Siraj not been bowling the away swinger, which he was bowling so well in Australia, which he bowled so well in India. He's just not bowling the away swinger. He's bringing everything back in, and which is why, I thought that Bairstow's wicket was disappointing. Bairstow should have done much better than.
Can I quickly add, though, it's intriguing how you talk about the ball coming in. I actually think there's a good reason for it. After what happened at Umesh Yadav and how he took the wicket of Root, they must have then had the impression that ball is the ball least expected by England,
but when he got the wicket of Root, that in-swinging one was a surprise ball. All of them before in the lead up were leaving Joe Root. But when you're just bowling all of them in swing, if you look at the highlights of this innings by Oli Pope, there are hardly any balls in the fourth or the fifth stump channel. India just didn't attack his outside edge. Same Ravindra Jadeja also did pretty much the same. Most of the balls that were bowled by Jadeja were also on the stumps. Only a few went away, and I think that is where India should have done better. But having said that, on the whole, India can't be too disappointed with the bowling effort because the average second innings score in Oval is 315. They restricted England to 290. So
I can probably give you some sort of background for the Oli Pope thing. Is when we were playing New Zealand earlier in the year, he got out a couple of times through LBW. And like a lot of the players, he had actually moved over. Then we were talking about it earlier in the summer. Well, I say summer, earlier in the less wet conditions, where the batsmen were actually now setting up on the off stump, which I thought was bizarre. And so therefore it made a lot of the England batsmen liable to being LBW. Now, what I've noticed, and it was commentated on as well, he's now actually moved over back a little bit. And I think the Indians are still thinking that he was susceptible to the LBW, so bowling at his legs. But of course, because he's moved over a little bit, he can now, rather than trying to play in front of his pad, play slightly straighter. And that's why he was then able to get the straight drives going. So it may be that just the background information and the plan that they had for him was slightly different.
It's a combination of both things, like you mentioned. Oli Pope did change his trigger movement, but if you look at the dismissals versus New Zealand, it was before he got that ball which came into him, Tim Southee had set him up very well by bowling those away swingers. And Tim Southee has another advantage over other bowlers, is that when he comes away from the stumps, a little away from the stumps, he can actually move the ball both ways, which creates that doubt. Indian bowlers just didn't take that ball away to create any doubt in Oli Pope's mind. That is what I'm saying.
I don't disagree with you. But it was, I think, against New Zealand, where he was starting on the off stump, and then Tim Southee is bowling the away swingers. He's dragging Oli Pope further and further across the stumps. So therefore, he's almost directly in front of them when he just bowls that inducker. But because he's now starting probably on middle or middle and off rather than off stump, he's not moving across as much. So therefore, this negating that particular issues that we had. But you're right. Yeah, they kept feeding him. And he said, okay, well, I'll take it. And then what happened? Thakur put that one outside and Oli Pope was unlucky to get the inside edge. It was a shame, but I'd love to have seen him get the century because he was batting well.
But just go back to Oli Pope for a minute. You're talking about moving over in the crease as well. He was also told to stand more side on. Wasn't that also one of the other things they were talking
Potentially,
about?
Yeah.
Okay. Thakur has a knack of picking those wickets which come out of nowhere. Because I remember in 2020 when India were playing that ODI series in Australia, Steve Smith had scored 260 ball hundreds in ODIs. And the third ODI, he got Steve Smith out, caught down the leg side by the keeper while playing a leg glance. So I won't be surprised if Thakur gets Root out while playing a full-blooded cut shot on a fourth or a fifth stump delivery caught in the gully, because that's the kind of wickets he tends to get. But
honestly, and there are bowlers like that, and there are some bowlers. Botham was a classic, and he would deliberately bowl a really rank ball, a rank long hop or a full toss, just to surprise the batsman, and then sometimes they get out because sometimes bad balls get wickets.
They do, no doubt about it.
So So I was just going to quickly add, there's been a comment made about Ashwin and the non-selection of Ashwin. Of course, we kind of moved on from that, but it's important to bring that back into play. Do you think Jadeja's bowling today showed evidence that he should have been put ahead of Ashwin or not?
I have something to add on this. People need to understand that Jadeja's adding balance to the team. Jadeja's like the engine oil, okay? But the engine oil can only work if the pistons in the engine cylinder are working. Now the point is, he's a number 7, but as a number 7, he can't do much if your 3, 4, 5 are not doing anything. And as a as a fifth bowler, he can't do much if your second, third, and fourth bowlers are not doing anything. If you look at the combined figures of Shardul, Umesh, and Siraj, they gave runs at 3.73 runs per over. They took 5 wickets, but they conceded 176 runs. Jadeja was the most economical bowler for India today. He was the only one who went under 3 runs per over. Apart from that, if you look at the series statistics, Jadeja's bowled 92 overs for an economy rate of 2.4, which is second best only after James Anderson. So almost every bowler is going at a faster run rate than Jadeja, except for James Anderson. So Jadeja is someone who's actually providing a lot of balance to the side, but it is not being felt because, like I said, an engine oil can only work if the pistons in the engine are working. And at this point of time, the pistons are non-existent. So what can the engine oil do? That's the thing. You
can get the Ferrari out of the garage, by the way. You forgot about the Ferrari. The Ferrari's in the garage, namely Ashwin. Why isn't he being let loose?
Yeah, so
I would not have replaced Jadeja with Ashwin at the Oval. I would have had both of them.
I would have replaced one of the pacers and brought in Ashwin. Yeah. It's as simple as that.
I agree.
India, as of this now, India have 918 wickets on the bench in Shami, Ishant, and Ashwin. Okay, and if Shami and Ishant were not fit, then it made all the more sense for Ashwin to be the second bowler on the park after Bumrah. It's as simple as that. And I'm not saying this in hindsight. Norman knows that I stick to what I said, what I say usually, and I'm repeating the same thing. Despite Shardul scoring those runs which he did yesterday, which actually which actually had an element of luck as well. It makes absolutely no cricketing sense to me that after knowing the injury status of Ishant and Shami, that Ashwin was left out, because Ashwin would have provided that control which went missing today. I don't think if Ashwin was playing, Moeen Ali would have scored those 35 odd runs, considering how good Ashwin is against left-handers, and Ashwin would have probably taken out Anderson as well, because in when Ashwin plays, Anderson's average against India is around 15 or not 15. It's actually quite lesser. That's not even his
probably 1.5.
Yeah, he's been out to Ashwin 7 times.
Yeah,
7 times. So yeah,
tailenders don't like good spinners. Yeah, but it's not happened, and I guess I don't know what the Indian media made of it. Certainly, there's been a lot of conjecture over here why Ashwin wasn't picked. Yeah,
there's a lot of criticism for Virat Kohli for leaving out Ashwin, and I feel rightly so. So I don't see any sense in leaving him out. Because
look, I'm going to be honest with you. I was in Lanzarote there for a while with Rich Vernon. That's why I was like, I'll let you know the truth. That's where you go when you're not exactly 100%. Yeah, probably just Lanzarote. Have you been to Lanzarote with Reg?
I've not been to Canary Islands, no.
Okay. All right. Now, can I just bring up another thought about this whole process? Gautam Bhattacharya, who's a very, very senior journalist, I think I mentioned on an earlier episode, has gone to town about that Ashwin Kohli situation and is adamant that there must be something not 100% there.
Who's saying
because
this?
Ashwin would, and Gil, you have to agree with this, that Ashwin would have loved to have played all 4 of those tests.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. But I'm asking who's saying that things are not good between them?
Well, no, it's Gautam Bhattacharya, who's probably one of the most senior journalists in India. Great, has written many books.
Yeah, he's a senior journalist, but he's also known to make these conjectures. So I wouldn't take his word for it as of now.
I don't think he's. But okay. But why is it wrong for us to suggest that? Why do you think that wouldn't be possibly the case? There wouldn't be some concerns about the relationship. because
if there, if there were those concerns, then it makes no sense to take Ravichandran Ashwin to England. You might as well left him back. It doesn't serve. It only puts more pressure on you from the outside noise. Why not just leave him back in India?
Agreed. Okay, I just wanted to bring it up because it is out there. They're up. Okay, I just wanted to bring that up.
Well, if you look at the tests, yeah, we always said at the beginning of the series, you don't play two spinners for every test. If you're going to play two spinners, then the likelihood is definitely the Oval and potentially Old Trafford, because Lords, Headingley, Trent Bridge, they're not really spinning decks. And if you're only going to pick one spinner, then Jadeja is probably the person to go with, because he gives you that extra thing. He's a brilliant fielder, slightly better batsman, more consistent better batsman than Ashwin. So, and then probably what's happened is they've come into the Oval, and on that first day it was overcast, the wicket was slightly tacky, and so people weren't sure what was going to go on, and so they thought, okay, we'll go with the seaming attack and we'll keep the one spinner, the template in air quotes, so to speak. So I can understand
that word template's been used by
I know.
Well.
I was slightly joking, but I can understand why they've done what they have, and if the concern is why not Ashwin at this test, that's all. But obviously, because he's not being picked, everyone's going, oh, there's problems. Even Nick Compton was saying, there's an interview on Nick Creek Info saying, oh, there's a clash of egos and something going. Are people just making mischief for the fact that Ashwin hasn't been selected due to the conditions?
There's also one thing that we are not considering here is that, after India lost in the World Test Championship, many people felt, and I think that might have been the management's thinking as well, that they probably need to play four seamers. Mm-hmm. And when they got the success with it in Lords, they didn't see any reason to change it. When I had personally still felt that was an outlier. They still need to play Ashwin, but probably. Which is why what Munchie is saying is making sense, that after having lost in Leeds and coming to Oval, which is probably the most sprint friendly pitch in England, it made sense for them to play Ashwin. But and it's not just who it's not just India who's mistreating their spinner. I personally feel that England have enough depth in their batting due to Vokes, Overton, and Robinson,
mm-hmm.
that they might as well play Jack Leach instead of Moeen Ali. And when they didn't have Vokes available and they had Sam Curran, they should have definitely played Jack Leach, because he would have added a new dimension to the bowling attack, which Sam Curran wasn't, and Sam Curran
mm-hmm.
wasn't even scoring any runs. And if you look at it, what happened in India, I think 4 or 5 months ago, Jack Leach was able to dismiss Rohit Sharma 4 times and
mm-hmm.
Chitesh Pujara 4 times.
Yep.
And Rohit Sharma has probably been India's best batsman. So, I think both the captains and both the think tanks are just thinking that we only need to play spinners or two spinners when nothing is happening. When I genuinely feel that with the amount of depth that England have in their batting, we could have probably played Jack Leach ahead of Moeen Ali in this test match, and Jack Leach ahead of Sam Curran in the previous test match.
Indeed, and someone made the comment this morning or yesterday about Dom Bess. Now, you're perfectly right, and I think Moeen gives you that little bit extra as a batsman as well, but with the depth, and I think just goes back to a point that you were talking about earlier on, is the middle order depth in England. Yeah, it's good, but 1, 2, 3, the early test, that was shocking by England. So I think they were looking to try and strengthen the batting as much as they could, and Moeen Ali gives them that over Jack Leach.
That is the thing. But that is the thing with Moeen Ali. If you look at this test match and if you look at the previous test match, he's thrown his wicket away. He's absolutely thrown his wicket away.
I agree. So, it's perfectly right.
His average with the ball is 30 plus. It's not that he's able to contain runs. He averages more than 30 with the ball. There's actually no difference between his batting average and bowling average. So you might as well play someone who's at least better in one aspect. You might as well play Jack Leach, who's for sure going to bowl better than Moeen Ali. Because Moeen Ali
you won't see Jack Leach in Manchester now. Yeah,
I know.
If the test goes ahead,
I know we won't see him, but I'm just questioning the logic with what is happening over here, because you might as well play a player who's better in one discipline, or is more assured in one discipline, than someone who you're not even sure of, in either of the disciplines. Because Moeen Ali didn't bowl in the first innings. He's hopefully he bowls well in the second innings whenever he does. But with the way he's been batting, he's been throwing his wicket away.
No, you're right.
Okay, there was another thing that I wanted to add there, was regarding two things actually. One was the catching of India and the slips. I thought they were quite impressive. I think that Rohit Sharma is really a fantastic slipper. He's a fantastic all-round fielder in terms of his catching, certainly. That was one aspect I thought was very redeeming for India. They caught all their catches that were there, which is an upward trend for their fielding. Also, the batting of Dawood Malan. What did you think of him? Even though he wasn't on for that long, what do you think of his
I thought he was brilliantly set up by Umesh, and he got the rewards for it. And one thing that I want to add about Rohit Sharma, the slip fielder, I have a theory. I don't know how much of that theory makes sense, but I've always felt that batsmen who can play late tend to be very good slip fielders. You look at Rohit Sharma, you look at Ajinkya Rahane, you look at Ricky Ponting, you look at Mahela Jayawardene, you look at Rahul Dravid, you look at VVS Lakshman, you look at Mark Taylor,
Waugh,
you look at
Mark Waugh, brilliant.
You look at Sachin Tendulkar. My theory is that any batsman who can play late tends to become a very good slip fielder, because you are in the habit of letting the ball come to you. And this is a pattern that I have seen, because if you are someone, I feel that someone like a Ravindra Jadeja will never be good in slips, because he has a habit of attacking the ball. And Virat Kohli also wasn't initially very good in the slips. He used to drop a lot of catches because he used to go towards the ball rather than let the ball come to him. So this is something that I've always felt, that anyone who can bat late or play late while batting tends to be a very good slip fielder.
No, it's good hypothesis.
What about keepers though? Where do you put keepers in that? Because what about wicket keepers? Because slip fielding is one thing. There's a massive difference between slip fielding and keeping. Let's be honest. So your theory on keepers wouldn't fall into the same pattern. Looking at a Gilchrist, the batsman Brad Haddin, they played pretty much attacking front foot cricket.
No, but Gilchrist could also play late. He could also play late.
No, but all I'm trying to say is a keeper and a slipper are very different beasts.
Yeah, that they are, because sometimes keepers also have to collect the ball in front of them so many times. When there's an edge or when the ball's staying low. But for the slip fielders, a lot of times, especially when you're keeping to pace, standing in slips to the faster bowlers, you have to let the ball come to you. And again, most of the keepers that I have seen, Rishabh Pant can play late as well. It's not that.
Hang on, I'll quote
MS Dhoni could play late as well.
You're saying that Rishabh Pant can play late. I'm waiting to see Rishabh Pant play late. He loves to play what I would call very early.
It's that early, it's almost premature. Yeah.
As of now, Rishabh Pant has zero confidence in his batting, which is why you're seeing the kind of dismissals that you're seeing. He has zero confidence in his defensive game. Absolutely zero confidence.
No, but look, I agree with you totally. I agree with you totally with what you said regarding slip fielders, but I do think keepers break that mold. Having been a keeper myself in my days, for me to go from keeper to slips was a very different feel. Not only did you not have gloves on, but it was a very different atmosphere. You had that doubt about catching, whereas keeping, you got no doubt. You almost go for everything near you.
But it's also the perception. Obviously, when you talk to, or when I listen to the great slip fielders, they will tell you about what they are looking at. So generally, as the wicketkeeper in the first slip, you're just watching the ball. And then if you're then watching second, third, fourth slip, you're then watching the bat and the edge to see what happens. Whereas when you are almost directly behind the bowler, you're actually looking for that ball direction. And I thought it was slightly unlucky for Root. Dropped the catch of Kohli, because India caught very well in the slips and England had been woeful. But that first edge, the ball was coming to him, and obviously the seam then came upright and then swung. And so, Root can be as late as he liked, but nobody was catching that. It was just too much movement after the ball had gone past the bat. But no, I think Gurkharat's got a great hypothesis there. You know, if a batsman's playing the ball late, then they can show that they've got a lot of time. So they're picking the view of the ball, the processing, and how the air is moving through the air. So therefore, as a slip fielder, you have the ability to have that time. Then you can pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The other. Okay. That's some very interesting observations. You are right. When a keeper keeps, he's watching the ball all the way through, whereas a slip fielder can often be off the bat. Correct? Is that what you said,
yep.
Munchie? Yep.
Yep. But it's just that when you talk to slip fielders, each of them will have their different ideas about what they're looking at. But generally, wicketkeeper and first slip, you're just watching the ball all the time. You're following it, whether it hits the edge or not. Yeah, you're just watching that ball.
It's interesting. The other aspect of the day's play was that Vivius Laxman has made a comment that Jadeja needs to beat the bat more in flight to be effective. He believes that even though Jadeja's got a great record, as we know, is that a fair assessment of Vivius Laxman? What Vivius Laxman said about Jadeja, that he needs to beat batters in flight to be more effective.
He's not a flight bowler, though, is he?
Exactly,
he's never been a flight bowler.
He's always been a bowler who's relied on the flatter trajectory and the pitch to do a lot of things. If you needed someone to beat the batsman in flight, Ashwin was your man, because he's known to vary his pace. He's known to come a little wide of the stumps, a little closer to the stumps, and then bring his height and action into play. When you are a short-heighted spinner like Jadeja is, and I'm afraid there's not much you can do with in terms of height, unless the pitch has some bounce, wherein then you can attack a particular spot where there are cracks, and then the natural variation take over. I think that despite the limitations that Jadeja has a bowler, which I just mentioned, he's done very well as a fifth bowler.
Oh, he's done exceptionally well. He's got over 200 Test wickets. That is an achievement in itself.
No, I'm just talking of this series. I'm just talking of this series.
Right. Okay,
anyway, Norman, it's now 12:15. I think I should go to sleep.
Oh, hang on. You need some sleep, do you? Oh, I'm sorry. I mean,
not kettle black, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Norman. People need to sleep. They're not like you. You can go on and on and on and on. And anyway, I don't think there's much to discuss. I think we've discussed what we wanted to discuss. I don't think there's anything.
Okay, settle down. Gil, I'm honoured to have your presence here. Everybody comments beautifully about you. They do say that I'm better looking, but we won't read those comments. They're usually coming from a
I don't see those comments either, Norman. Yeah,
don't you? I see them clearly.
I think if they do say that, it's just because that they don't want to be blocked from the channel and they love the content so much, so they're like, okay, we'll do something to massage your ego.
Okay.
Well, sleep well then, Gurkharat. I'll catch you soon.
Gil, take care.
Okay, bye. Chalo.
Bye.
Norman, just to pick up, Animesh just put up a comment about the English security, and yes, we picked up it in earlier why he was able to jump the boards, and I'm sure there will be some sort of retrospective check and review of the security protocols, because as Gil was saying earlier, once was funny, twice fine, third time no, this is boring. But we made the point earlier about yes, Jarvo's doing it for a bit of fun, but what if it isn't? And people were making the Monica Seles comment where someone ran onto the tennis court and stabbed her. So I'm sure that there'll be something being picked up from that.
So what do you know the fines for entering the field of play?
I don't.
Okay.
And I should imagine there'll be some fines, there'll be automatic suspensions, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of police, there's ranges of police cautions as well.
Well, okay. There's no way that he's been banned from all grounds in England, because this is the third ground he's gone to, literally. So it can't be that. If it was they're probably going to instigate that now because he's been to so many. But the fines in Australia are ginormous. I think they've gone from 5,000 to 9,000 or something. It's crazy. And we're very harsh about that. In fact, our security are larger in number around the ground as well, I've noticed. And they're a lot more bulkier. They're not, I don't know, it's just me. Security guards on a cricket ground need to be of a certain caliber to actually catch these people quickly, because it's a big ground, as you're describing. And I'm not being rude, but some of the so-called security guards couldn't find their way out of a paper bag. They look quite timid looking comparatively.
And some of them just retired people or just volunteers. But I'm sure that they'll be looking at it because this can't happen, because the guys have said what happens if we've been very lucky, there's a bit of fun, fine, fair enough, move on, but we want to make sure it doesn't happen again, because if something serious happens, then the questions will be asked, well, why didn't we do anything when Java ran on the pitch 3 times? And then it's too late. So I don't want to see big fences in front of in the grounds. That'll ruin it. But there needs to be either stricter penalties for that to deter people, or at least increase the security. But also there needs to be some sort of self-policing in the crowds themselves, because when you see someone just about to jump up, as spectators, you should be entitled, no, what are you doing? Come back in. Don't ruin the game for us. Because people never know what's going on. It may be a joke, or it may be someone trying something more serious. So there should be some sort of self-policing as well.
Absolutely. So, Munchie, in your opinion, how do you see the game poised? Obviously, England is still in ascendancy, albeit slight.
55-45. That's the game to me now.
So it's actually come. Your argument has come closer after. Okay, interesting. So you argue that the game is they're actually more even at the level pegging than say the first day.
I thought Rohit and KL Rahul batted very, very well. They were slightly lucky, but as I said earlier, I think openers are slightly entitled to a bit of luck, and they were very solid. And I think it'll all come down to what happens tomorrow morning, because the weather conditions from lunchtime onwards tomorrow look to be very favourable to the batsmen. The sun's going to come out, it's going to get warmer, so the ball shouldn't move as much. If the wicket is as dry or as drying as it is, you may get some reverse swing, but because the outfield is so lush, I don't think so. It'll just be conventional swing. So that morning session will be the key differentiator in the test match. If India can bat losing 1-2 wickets maximum, then they'll have the upper hand, because if they can put runs on the board, then scoreboard pressure, sorry to use the cliches there, will apply, and anything 150 and above on the 4th day or 5th day, England will be under pressure. But we'll see what happens. It's a good test. It's actually, for a start, it's becoming more balanced test, because Lords and Headingley, both teams really performed badly at one time. So we'll see what happens. But I think it's a very tight situation. The other thing to consider, of course, is the bowlers have been out there for a while. Bumrah suffered today, had a bit of cramp. It looked like
it was
cramp.
Definitely cramp, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was yeah.
So, of course, the longer that the bowlers are out there, then the better it is thinking about the next test, although I think the next test will be affected by rain, unfortunately. So, it's to me, it's the morning session tomorrow. Yeah, whoever comes out of that on top will most likely go on to be ahead in the test match. Yeah, but I think, looking at it, I think a draw is still probably, to me, favourable. Or the favourite.
Draw in this match.
Yep.
Hang on. Do you really think there's going to be a draw in this test match?
Well, no. If I look at all the results, the way it's going through, if India can bat until lunchtime tomorrow, because of the upcoming weather and the wicket's not really deteriorating that much, you're not going to get that much reverse swing. Then the batsman should be able to bat out properly, because the oval wicket is a great wicket. It's a true track. It's getting flatter. It's not zipping around anymore. So the batsmen, if they're up to their game, they should be able to see it out. But I think that's the one thing that we've seen, and Gurkrat was highlighting on that. There are times when people have brain frayeds and just sudden collapses take place. But I'm still, I think looking at it, with the 2.5 days.
Your argument's on the basis there'll be no weather interruptions in this game, correct?
It's going to be overcast tomorrow morning. I think less than 5% chance of rain, and then getting brighter throughout the day. Sunday and Monday getting a lot better.
I would hope, like hell, that we see centuries in this match, but I'm not sure if there will. Ollie Pope should have done that today. He had every opportunity. He did shock me. I didn't expect him to do as well as he did. He was very impressive. Just a quick note: Bangladesh versus New Zealand. Bangladesh have yet again won a match there. They won the second ODI. Second T20, I should say. Isn't this incredible? Are we to consider? I know it's on Bangladesh turf. I know there's a favouritism of the wet location, but Australia and New Zealand are probably underdone with the teams they select. But Bangladesh is showing some true form here against two sides that you would argue should have been the winners of the matches. It's a very intriguing situation.
It is, but you can't really. You can't read too much into it because, as you said, you've got New Zealand and Australia sent. I wouldn't say second string would be unfair, but they send slightly weaker sides. And you're playing in Bangladesh, where people have been moaning about the decks, but I'm not going to talk about those. So let's see what happens come the World T20. That'll be the indicator of how far Bangladesh are progressing as a team.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, it's been great. Look, I'm so yes, I have struggled a bit getting here on time today, but it's funny because you weren't around that much, or you may have been. I can't remember when Chris Vernon used to have to wake me up at certain points before a match when we were doing a relentless amount. I mean, the IPL is horrific because I did 29 days in a row. 29 days in a row. And it was odd hours like this. It was quite a feat. And yeah, it was interesting. It's a bit of a feat. To be honest with you, I was up most of the time. In fact, I'll be honest, viewers, I watched the entire match up until about 3, which was about 15 minutes to go before the end of the match. Then I went to sleep.
Yeah, well, I said that it would, as the day progressing, it was getting quite slow towards the end. And of course, if you're sitting in the chair watching the television, next thing your eyes have gone. That's it. You're zonked out. Yeah. But yeah, that's no worries. Normally, it's completely acceptable and understandable given the time differences. Yeah. So let's have some questions. So we've got some interesting. Yeah. So should Australia learn from New Zealand? Oh, definitely. Yeah. If New Zealand performed better than the way the Australians did. But of course, the other thing is, what was the Australians' mindset while they're in Bangladesh? Were they there because they had to be there? So were they not really motivated to perform as well? I don't know. The players.
I'll have to weigh in here.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can excuse the Australian performance in those locations, even though they had a slightly lesser side. Those players were playing for their positions. If they're not regulars on the side, they were playing for their positions. It wasn't just going through the paces. They were playing for their positions. So realistically, they should have been on top of their game.
Should have been, yeah.
And quite frankly, there's a lot to be said about Langer. There's no doubt about that. There is more than enough of a problem. I'm not trying to knock Langer for everything. Admittedly, Australia's performance has been below par for some time. There is something not right there. I think he can't handle defeat as a coach very well, if that makes any sense. He tends to overreact and make them work harder or more disciplined. And I think most people will agree you can't discipline a team into victory. I don't think. They've got to be able to. They've got to play well.
It depends, obviously, on with the players, and this is the classic with Mike Brearley as a captain, and he was saying about the best way to motivate players, because some players you just need to put your arm around them and cajole them, and other players you need to put a rocket up there, Jaxie. But if you try and then put your arm around someone that needs a rocket, or put a rocket that someone needs their arm around them, then you're not going to get the best out of those players.
And you've just summed up Langer. I don't think, even though he was a great player and a great team player, he has quite got the art of coaching right, to be honest.
I thought he did well at Western Australia, though, didn't he? Wasn't he a great coach for WA?
Yeah. He also, there was a few comments made about his WA performances as well, actually.
Yeah.
There were an element of two camps that occurred, and that's what he's got yet again. He has what would be called two camps within the side. He had people who he favoured, not they were very disciplined yes men type players, and he had players that were a bit more let's say loose and didn't like that. It occurred actually, even though he had success. Look, he selected a couple of people that were of interest. He got the Pakistani Abdul Qadir's son, Usman Qadir, into the squad, and he favoured him greatly. But in the end, Usman Qadir went back to Pakistan. So there's an interesting. He did great to bring him in, but then he tried to over-discipline Usman Qadir, and he's a player you don't over-discipline. He is a bit freer like his father. I'm not knocking Justin Langer because great deal of respect for his coaching. Sorry, his cricket playing ability and his leadership by way of doing rather than talking, so to speak. It was very much he acted from the front. There is something not right with his coaching.
Well, we'll see what happens. I guess the World T20 will be decision, but of course, with the Ashes coming so quickly after the World T20, are the Aussies likely to change the coach?
I don't think they're going to. No, they're going to be a little bit stubborn about that. They're going to leave him in, and Tim Payne's going to continue being captain because if there's a new coach, you may have seen another captain in. It's an interesting saga. The reality is that no, they're not. Australia can't afford to change the slate in the piece. You can't afford.
No,
it'll be overwhelmingly psychologically damaging, and a new coach wouldn't have a hope in hell of getting the team in any space that quickly. They are talking about Ricky Ponting. They're talking about Trevor Bayliss. They're talking about Andrew McDonald, who's already there. Not unlike what's happening with the guy that Victor, the guy that's replaced? Sorry, who's Shastri's batting coach? Kapoor. I can't remember the pronunciation, but he's deemed to be the next replacement for Shastri.
Shastri,
So that's Andrew McDonald's. Andrew McDonald's is a placating influence on the Australian team. All the players are going to him, and you can see it evidenced even in the games during the match. Langer's there barking orders, and Andrew McDonald's taking players away and having private chats with them. You can even see that dynamic going on. It's one of my favourite things to do, Munchie, is to actually be at a game and to watch the bunker or the dressing room.
Yeah,
you see a lot of the reality of the game when you see that.
Oh, cool. So, right. So just some questions so we can let you go and get some sleep. Let's see one. Satvik. Here we go. Oh, definitely. Yeah. India need to bat. Yeah. And if you give England less than 200 or even 250 on the oval deck on a sunny day, yeah, England should chase it down. As I was saying earlier, it's going to be, the weather is going to be so much in favour of the batsmen Sunday and Monday. India need to bat, and of course if India then can get up to 300 in front, then England just bat for the draw or try and bat for the draw. But I don't see the wicket doing things spitefully, jumping, shooting, without Ashwin's guile. I think India will miss that because Jadeja just doesn't have that, as we discussed earlier with Gurkharat. But certainly 250, 300, you're not far off there. But India just need to keep batting, and whether or not they will think, well, okay, we'll try and do a Lord's again, we'll make it uncomfortable, and then put the pressure on England. We don't know, because given the balanced edge of the Test match or the series, whoever wins this Test match, I think will win the series. So, would you be rather more happier just drawing the series or a risk of losing it? Sorry.
So really, this is the deciding match, you're saying, because it's likely to be a washout for the last match.
Well, looking at the forecast, and as I predicted, potentially the rain coming over on the Gulf Stream. So we're going to have a few days of brilliant weather, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's start getting worse again.
So can I have it clear in my head why they put Manchester as the last game? Because it's normally
no idea. And people have been joking earlier on in the summer. You're right. The Oval is normally the last game. Manchester normally earlier on. Manchester, there's a joke in Manchester when you're at the ground is if you can see the Pennines, which is the hill range through England, it's about to rain. If you can't see the Pennines, it's raining already. And I worked up in Manchester for a while. My brother lives up there. It's wet. Yeah. it's people joke about it, and probably Tim would tell you about it. I think Tim's from that area. But Manchester in September, you can't guarantee you're going to get 5 days of dry cricket. Sorry.
But it's so funny because Australia's done the same, well, arguably the same thing, and they're doing it again this series. The Gabba was the last match, when in fact the Gabba is normally the first match. In this case, Sydney is usually the last. It's now the the Telstra Dome, or what's it called now, Optus Stadium in WA, Western Australia. Why are they doing that? I don't understand that.
I don't know. Yeah, Lords is always traditionally the second test. Yeah, it's generally one of the grounds. So Trent Bridge, Edgbaston, Old Trafford will be the first one. Lords is always second, or traditionally second, and the Oval last. So why? Is it because of the 100 or the Vitality games? I don't know why they're jigging it around, but certainly having games going into September, you're taking a risk there. and if anything, I think given the congested calendar, I think the players be quite happy to have 5 days rained off, so they can start prepping, resting, and getting ready for the IPL and then the T20 Championships.
I am impressed with your analogy, or sorry, your thoughts on the going from say 60-40 to 55-45. I'm intrigued by that because it is a fair reflection on the day, but it just shows how close the match is.
Oh, definitely. And it was, and we've said this from before the series. It was going to be, they're both equally matched sides, but the bowling attacks were better than their batting side. And to us, we said beforehand that India would shade it because of the batting quality. You only look at the averages, but of course, in English conditions, that balances it out a bit more. Gurkerat was perfectly correct in his discussions earlier on, where he was saying, look at the series, and that there have been various points in those series where one side has collapsed one way or another, be it a poor batting display or a poor bowling display, like England at Lords when the tailenders got all the runs. So anything can happen, but just looking at the oval wicket, I just don't see on hot sunny days the quality of the batsmen. They should be able to bat that time out.
Yeah, well, we said the previous test that we thought on that second day of the Indian innings that when they had both, I think, Kohli on 45 and Pujara on 91, that they had the opportunity to do the same.
Indeed, yeah. They should have just batted that day. That was just an aberration. Yeah, because I was actually out, and then I've come back and what's the score of the cricket? I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, just crazy. Yeah, but we'll see what happens. It may be tomorrow that India just battle Dave, Rohit, and Rahul, and they've got 250 runs, or they get bowled out. I'd like to be more positive than Gary is about the Indian side, but you never know.
Where are you from, Gareth Banky? Because you're very damning of India, or of any side for that matter.
Yeah.
Let's hear where you're from. Not that it matters too much, but.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think everyone would like to see a really competitive, even test. I think Trent Bridge was starting to be like that, but the Headingley and Lords have both been kind of one-sided, one way or the other. But let's see what the pressure going on there. But it's you want to say these batsmen can do it. You look at the averages and you look at it, but then the times where they're just not doing it, and I just don't know what's causing the problem. We discussed earlier with Chris and David Gravely this morning about the batsmen playing outside the off stump. I thought Rahul and Rohit were a lot better this evening, but of course the lacquer was still on the ball. Once that lacquer's off the ball tomorrow morning and we've got overcast conditions, what's going to happen? But it
is interesting though. The key to Indians' batting performance is definitely their openers, because we can't rely on 3, 4, and 5 the way they've gone. And for 3, 4, and 5 to have a better chance of batting well, they need the openers to fire.
Oh, definitely.
They have. Yeah. This 43 opening partnership is probably, I would argue, the most significant partnership of this Test match so far, because it could so easily lost 2 or 3 wickets and really put it back against India, and that's been very important. If they continue that way this morning and they wipe off the deficit, it's going to be a very different complexion on the game.
Yeah, and I think Satvik's made another good comment about why did India perform well in Australia or not in England. It's the movement of the ball. I've said several times before, great batsman I really enjoyed watching was Vrinder Sehwag. His average in India was 50. His average in Australia was 50. His average in England was 26. The reason being the ball is moving sideways more. The Kookaburra ball in Australia will swing for a little bit, but it goes soft very quickly. And then it's just basically the ball is just straight up and down on a hard deck. You can hit through the line. Whereas in England, as you've seen with the Duke's ball, it is swinging 40, 50, 60 overs into the life of the ball, which makes it that much more difficult. And of course, if you're used to attacking the ball outside the off stump because you know it's not going to swing, and then suddenly it is moving, then the likelihood is you're going to nick off, which we have seen quite often.
Are you suggesting that balls will get very soft very quickly in Australia? That's a very significant. It's very disparaging about the Australian male anatomy. Is that what you're getting at?
Cricket balls are yeah.
Sorry. Okay, I misunderstood you. Maybe it's late.
Or early.
No. Yeah. I did call you tiny, so I should be careful. Have you snapshotted that little recording that when I said that?
I haven't, but trust me, Reg and Chris remind me quite often. Yeah. And I think Chris was pinging me earlier. He said, "Does it stand for thin fast bowler?" And I said, "Well, number one, I've never been thin. Even when I was playing, I was still quite muscular, and I was never quick. I was the opening bowler, but I would never say I was a fast bowler. But it was just your description at the time, and of course, Richard, when he saw it, he was just killing himself laughing. I
don't know where that came from. It was totally unplanned. It was totally not deliberate. It came out. When you say,
no offense, Norman, it was funny. That's it. No problems whatsoever. Yeah. Just a comment from Harsh, who just put one up about the BCI to send players to play county cricket. Several of them do. We've had Vihari, we've played Ashwin, and in the past we've had your great players have played. Tendulkar was the first overseas to play in Yorkshire. Kent have had Rahul Dravid. Laxon was at Lancashire for a long period of time. I think part of the problem is with the IPL now and the success of it, that if the players then want to come to play on the county game, they don't get a rest. So generally in the English summer, the Indian players will probably have had the rest from after the spring series and then starting again in the winter. But with the IPL, then there is a likelihood you're playing cricket all year round, and especially as a bowler, then you are going to pick up injuries. So we would love to see the players coming over. I remember just before I think it was 2018, people were talking about it. Virat Kohli was going to play for Surrey, and there was a lot of excitement about that. You would have seen the grounds packed for the county championship games just to watch Virat Kohli bat. But I think his back injury flared up, which meant he couldn't come, which is a great shame. And I'm sure he'd like to come again. But we were saying at the time back then that he needs to come over to show how great a player is, to score a hell of a lot of runs. But to do that, he needs to then get used to playing in the English conditions. Pujara, I know, has been up to Yorkshire as well. So the players have been released in the past. So I don't know why they can't now.
Well, the reality is there's too much cricket on. Let's be honest. Jeff Thompson typically said he played in summer and not the winter.
Yeah.
There were overseas tours, yes, to England and the like, yes. But in essence, they did not play all year round. And no, I think that's...
Yeah, the other thing to consider is when Jeff was bowling, of course, and this goes back to the old cycle of the test matches, the test match would be start on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, day off on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then the next test would not start until the following Thursday. So you'd almost have 9-10 days off before the next test started. And that's why the bowlers were traditionally bowling 90 miles an hour all the time, because the bodies were allowed to rest. Whereas what happens now, they finish a test match, 4 days later, there's another test match. And so, something's got to be done about this. Someone made the comment earlier about over bowling Bumrah before the World T20, because obviously Bumrah's going to want to play for the IPL as well, and then you've got the World T20 as well. If he's suffering with cramp now, that's a sign that his body's getting tired. The lactic acid is building up. So you just got to be careful.
Well, the reality is he's played all 4 tests, hasn't he? Not unlike James Anderson. And I think both of those players, it'll depend on what happens in this test match. If, for example, India win, I think Bumrah will be rested for the last.
Yeah.
And vice versa as well. Unless James Anderson's retiring, of course, after that.
Well, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Okay. Be honest. Do you think if James Anderson is about to announce a retirement, not now, but in general, will he do it in a manner where he'll talk about it very openly and a very, I'm going to retire this match before the match starts, or even a couple of matches before the series ends? Will he do that, or will he keep totally quiet and go out, without much fanfare?
I don't know. Alistair Cook
he's
said
he was.
Person. But he's quite a funny person. He does a podcast with Greg James in the UK here called Tailenders, and he has a dry sense of humour. You look at him on the cricket field, and he is the grumpiest player alive. And you talk to good friends of his, Graham Swan, etc. They'll tell you on the cricket field he is Mr. Grumpy. But certainly on a couple of tours ago, Graham Swan did a tour diary, and there was him and Jimmy were regularly playing pranks and having a bit of fun. So he does have that sense of humour. But whether
I get that, but
whether he is that outward to say when he gets to Manchester, right, this is going to be my last test. Or is he still motivated to keep going? people to obviously the Ashes coming up, but if the Ashes are going to be another huge bio bubble, and there's lots of mental issues there in terms of the pressure on the players, will that make his decision? No, I don't want to continue playing. Or will he say, I'm not going to go to Australia, but I'll play next summer? I don't know. Well, we'll just see what happens. Yeah.
No, but no, you're not getting my point, though. He is generally a rather quiet person. He's not somebody who likes to. He does on that particular show you've described, yes.
Yeah.
But in general, he's not someone like a Shane Warne would go about his ending of his
career.
career.
It's not a gregarious character, no. Yeah, no. And that's it. So whether Jimmy will say, finish the match, that's it. But I'm sure it's got to be a different sort of humour that doesn't say, you want the big fanfare, and of course you're at Manchester, you're bowling for your own end. Yeah, a good fanfare. I don't know. From what
I'm talking about a lot because it's closer than we think.
It's closer than we think. It's always going to be there, but it was when he was saying earlier in the year about what he was saying. He's saying, "No, I feel fit. I feel fine. I am bowling better than I was before. I'm actually bowling slightly quicker than a few years ago." And he's learning more about the wobble seams, scrambled seams, cross seams, you name it. But it wasn't until Steve Harmison put that little bit on Cricinfo that people are now talking about him retiring. Because, for all intents and purposes, we thought he was going to go to Australia.
It's interesting. It looks like Jarvo's been actually... He's been held by the police on suspicion of assault.
Well, jumping into, I think it was Johnny Bairstow who was batting at the time. Okay, you might have an interesting or a stretched description of what assault is, but technically, running into somebody can be classified as that. So it'll be interesting to see how the legal side pushes that one.
Yeah, I think he's pushed his luck a bit too far.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I've been following the comments on here, and guys, please don't call each other racist. If you want to see what racism is, watch the highlights of the England-Hungary game yesterday, because that was just horrible. Let's just keep. It's England-Hungary World Cup qualifier. There were apparently lots of monkey chants given to Raheem Sterling and Jude Bellingham. It's just abhorrent. I've said it before. Don't like it. But certainly, be positive. I've said, okay, potentially a draw, because if both teams play to their potential, they should be able to see it out. Yeah.
I'm rather. I don't want to say I'm shocked by your suggestion there. I think there's no hope in hell of a draw.
No, if you've seen the oval wicket, it's a pretty good batting track. It's not going to disintegrate too much. And the wickets are nice, or the outfield is nice and lush, so you're not going to get a huge amount of reverse swing. I was going to come on to the spin. And without Ashwin's guile, because he's a brilliant bowler and very cunning, I just don't think, the England batsmen should be able to play the ball coming through. It's going to get softer and slower, it's softer and easier to play. I just don't see, unless you get another aberration, a bit like Headingley or Lords for England, that the players should be able to see it out. Yeah, okay. I think Tim was making the comment now. He felt sorry for people with fifth-day tickets, which is always the case in Test matches in England. But you do get a brilliant fifth day, like a Headingley against Australia a couple of years ago. But they are very evenly matched. That's when I'm looking at it. And the way that Rahul and Rohit played the game this afternoon, a couple of issues, but generally they were playing that ball really well. So I see no reason why they can't continue doing that.
I mean, look, the reality is that, you talk about fifth-day tickets. I'm talking about Australia here. No one buys fifth-day tickets until the fifth day, or the fourth day coming into the fifth day. So, is that when you look at say Lords, for example, which is a prestigious ground to be able to go to, if you can get any ticket, just to actually get the physical ticket is a big deal, because it's such a memorable thing. I love it. I actually posted on my Instagram various versions of the tickets. Did you see that? I'm not sure. I thought it was
no.
I'm in a collectors hub on Facebook, and all these amazing people put all the posts there, and I sometimes pinch a few for mine. They are the most beautiful tickets I've ever seen.
No, I didn't see those, but yeah, but Lords is special. I think I told you before. I had a colleague who came over from Singapore last time India were over, and he paid over the odds via a ticket tout for a ticket to go to Lords because he said, "I'm watching India at Lords." I said, "But you're paying several £100s." He said, "I don't care. I'm seeing India at Lords," which says to me, number one, it's passion, and number two, love of the game. And that's what I love about it. But yeah, the last time I was there was £100 for a day ticket at the Test match. You're paying £4 or £5 a pint of beer, £10 for food. It's an expensive day out. Yeah.
It is, but it's one of those. It's iconic to the point of distraction. Having been that tourist on many occasions, I've also been lucky enough to go into the media box on a number of occasions too, which is rather special on a day like that. There's nothing better. There's nothing better. No. I paid $2,000 for a ticket to the Wimbledon Women's Final. Would you believe, this season? I was happy to do it. Yeah. Mind you, I got the whole thing was done extremely late, so I had no choice. But I was very happy to pay that.
No, if people get the chance, go to Lords. It's like a homage, pilgrimage, so to speak, and obviously you get a chance to look around the museum. And Chris has already pinged me to say, beforehand, we'll try and get a game together. Just a normal county game or a T20. Go along as join him as in the member. And that's just awesome. It's just, and there's something about the ground. If you compare it to the other English grounds, what's the one thing you don't really hear at Lords? You don't really hear the chanting going on, but they'll talk about his Lord's murmur, this hubbub. There's almost this just gentle chatting going on, whereas you don't get the singing and the chanting that you may get on the Western Terraces or the Hollis Stand at Edgbaston. It's slightly different. What Lords does have, which people have picked up beforehand, are the idiots that are firing corks into the outfield. They're not directing it at players. Well, they shouldn't be. They're just firing them. So we'll get changes for that as well. But Lords is special. Yeah.
Oh, that's not. Sorry, let me go back to the SCG. Have you been on SCG test and MCG test?
No, I did a day nighter, Australia Pakistan in '89. Was it? It was the winter of '88, '89. Yeah.
Okay, you're overdue to come back, aren't you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Well, my wife's got some friends who are up in Amina Beach, and so we desperately need to come over and visit. Amina Beach, north of Sydney.
You minor.
Okay, you minor. Sorry, my pronunciation.
Okay, you minor. But if you come to Sydney, you're most welcome to visit, and I'll.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
you and your wife can come to me anytime, and you'll be at Coogee Beach within, virtual, not quite, but virtual walking distance to the Randwick end of the SCG, and you'll be in with the members. I'll treat you like royalty, albeit tiny royalty, but royalty.
But of course, this is well before going back to the late '80s. This is before the redevelopment, and I just remember watching the game, and I've gone with some friends, and it was a day night, a stinking hot day, and I've gone to the bar, and I'm queuing in the bar. I've just got like a vest singlet thing on. This guy taps me on the shoulder, and pardon the expression, he said, "Mate, are you a pom?" And I turned around and looked at him and said, "Yeah, I am. How'd you know?" I said, "Well, with that tan, you had to be." Yeah, because bare white. But of course, it was all just good nature. We had a great time, and it's another thing. I was able to go to the MCG. I was watching a Shield game at the MCG. So, but as cricket fans, you've got to go to some of these stadiums. As I said before, I was lucky enough. We had a wedding in Kolkata, so I went to Eden Gardens. That's just enormous. Standing on not right on the square, but on the edge of the square, just imagining what the noise of 100,000 people there. But
they've got that stadium now. It's called Salt Lake City Stadium in Kolkata now, which is. I was there for an opening ceremonies of the IPL a few years ago. That venue is horrifically bigger than even. Would you believe Eden Gardens?
Yeah,
it's not a cricket ground; it's a soccer ground.
Yeah, but I think David made the point this morning or yesterday about some of the stadiums which are becoming multi-purpose arenas, where they're just becoming a great big donut, if you look at it straight down, it's just a donut. Whereas you look at some of the great grounds around the world, and they've got some character on it. Sydney, they're overdeveloped now because you've got the great old pavilion there, but everything else is just new stands around it. The same with Adelaide. Well, it's a beautiful little ground, but then they're overdeveloping it. So I see they're trying to increase the size, get more money and revenue, etc. for everyone, but you just don't want to lose the heart of the game in some of these stadiums.
Well, you're right. I mean, Adelaide now has a very swank 5-6 star hotel attached to the ground, which is beautiful. But it has lost some of its old character. The SCG deserved to keep its hill, which it never was going to keep because of the sheer weight of capacity. I think it was even David Graveney who said it was a crying shame they built a stand in front of the old scoreboard. And that's the reality is the old scoreboard is still there. That is to me an incredible waste. It's actually been, I believe it's been heritage listed to not be moved. But what's the point of not moving it when no one can see it?
Yeah. That's what makes the game so. You visit some of these stadiums. People talking about the Oval and the gas tank, although it's not really used anymore, but it's still there. You're not going to pull it down. But it's development. It's the future. We move on. Yeah.
So do you think that Lords, the changes that's been made, not so much to the JP Morgan Media Centre, which I think is very unique and very good, but the improvements that are being made there, they're rather, how can you put it? They're fitting with the ground. They're not overdone, are they?
No, you take the new Compton and Edridge at the end there. Yeah. Apparently, there are some slightly viewing issues when you're right by the media centre. If you're right at the top corner there, you can't really see everything. But if you look at it from the pavilion end, it looks fantastic, just all the curves and things. Whereas some places just have a big stand all the way around, so it detracts. And I think Lords have tried to do it to keep some of the old heritage of the ground there.
Oh, they had to. They could not do that. Seriously, it would have been a huge problem. Yeah, so look, it's been a good day's play. So what's your prediction? We'll talk about it more tomorrow. But
well, my prediction, I think people
forgetting the draw, because I don't want you to talk about draw. Let's talk about result.
Right. So let's talk about, if given the weather conditions tomorrow morning, the fact that the lacquer is off the ball, and providing all the bowlers are fit, then if the ball's moving and India lose early wickets, then I could see India being all out by tea tomorrow, and then England attempting to chase down on the fourth day. So that's basically from an England supporter point of view.
I think that's a fair predicament of the game. Even though India have kept it relatively level, England have been in ascendancy from ball one in this Test match. Yeah, haven't they?
It's.
I mean,
it's Tim was mentioning it earlier. He agrees with me in terms of 55-45 to England. It's never been a huge swing. The game's always been there.
But it's always been England in front, though. It's always been England in front.
It is from the Joe Root making the brave call to bowl first, which I thought was very brave, and then England obviously getting the early wickets on India and then putting the pressure. So India have been on the back foot, but they are capable of coming back again. They've got the quality batsmen to do it.
Well, I mean, people have been, Indian supporters in particular have been rather heavy on the Indian batting lineup and various parts of the Indian team. They've still won all, and they have an opportunity to go 2-1 here, which is a big, big deal.
Yeah, but the way to look at it, the way I'm looking at it, is the better Indian batsman compared to the better English batsman against England's better seam bowlers against India's not as good seam bowlers. So the teams are slightly balanced in that favour, and it's really who's going to win that battle tomorrow morning. That's going to be the key thing. If India can come through tomorrow morning unscathed, I don't think they'll lose the test.
Interesting. So are you talking about the first session, are you, or are you talking about?
Okay. Yeah, because just looking at the weather forecast, if you think about what happened on the first morning, the ball was zipping around all over the place, and the wickets tumbled. Tomorrow morning, it's looking to be overcast, and if the same conditions again, that ball will move.
Mm-hmm. Although I have this feeling that we're going to see more fireworks from Shardul Thakur. I don't know why, but he's not going to sit back and take it easy tomorrow if he gets a chance to bat.
You're moving on from Pants to Thakur now, are you? Yeah, he's your new player.
No. I mean, in form is what I'm talking about. Pant's not in form. Thakur, well, his innings.
He got lucky, and good luck to him.
He got lucky. He had 3 6s and 7 4s.
I know, but he was just hitting. He was sitting through the line of the ball, but got some top edges over the slips, etc. Yeah, good luck to him. But I don't think he'll be able to do it again. England will be wiser the next time round.
Okay, all right. I hope you're right. For anyone's sake. Yeah. All right. I've got this feeling. I'm obviously a bit pro India. I know I don't, but it's okay.
No. Well,
the moment you see your captain, he looks very comical to me. There's been conversation going on here. What's going on here?
There's been some very interesting conversations. Yeah.
Make your game talk. Okay. He's much better than Virat. Oh, here we go. We're not going into a Virat versus other player scenario like Babar Azam, are we? No.
I think, Norman, you need to get some sleep, mate.
Okay. The reality is Babar Azam is very admirable with his batting performances, but he has not done enough to warrant being in superstardom.
No, he's there in the top 10. Yeah. The current top 10, shall we say, the current batsmen. Yeah, we've got the top 4 from each of the countries. Kohli, Smith, Williamson, Root, but Babar Azam's up there. You've got Labuschagne or Labuschagne, however you want to pronounce him. Rohit's performing as well. And actually, Rohit has been the one batsman that I have seen definitely change his game for England compared to how he bats in India. Babar Azam, I wouldn't discount him. Certainly when you're playing Pakistan, he's the one wicket you want to get.
Yeah. Okay. We've talked about prediction. And prediction for tomorrow is that you're saying that India are all out by perhaps after tea, and England going to bat, surging ahead into a 4th day where they're probably going to be victorious.
Yeah, it's the session tomorrow morning. It's just the cloudy, overcast conditions. Once the sun comes out, you bat at the Oval. Yeah, people will tell you that. Chris will tell you that. David Graveney will tell you that. The sun out of the Oval, it's nice and flat. Just bat. Yeah.
All right. Well, you've been fantastic. I appreciate you coming on, Munch. You saved me somewhat. You saw me struggling there to start with. I'm a lot perkier now.
You are definitely perked up, Norman. Yeah, it was great to have so many comments coming through. It's always entertaining reading them. Unfortunately, when we're having the conversations, obviously with Gurkharat, and obviously the call this morning when Jim and David, when you have so many people on, it's very difficult to read all the comments and bring the people on chat in at the same time. But it's great to have so much interest there.
But it's true. There's no doubt about it. When you have a large group of people, like 4, maybe 5 on the call, it is more important to talk between the group than to go to questions all the time. That's difficult. It's more of a thing you do when you've got 2 to 1, perhaps.
It is, but there are some great comments coming through.
Oh, gotcha.
You've got some great subscribers coming through here, and there are lots of valid comments that are coming through, and certainly, well, that's how obviously I know Chris very well and Richard, unfortunately, but it's great.
Those glasses were awful.
Yeah. But
just one comment from Tim. Tim says Burns and Overton and poor slips. Yeah, England have got a real problem with their slips, haven't they? They really have.
Yeah, I think Overton does slip for his county. I think Burns does as well. But yeah, it's difficult, especially because England had settled slips in the last test. But obviously with Butler going, Bairstow then became the keeper, so you then got to bring somebody else in. I think England have always struggled recently. Yeah, I think since Cook departed, because what would happen, you'd have Cook at first slip, Root at second slip, and then obviously bolt on from there. Yeah. But no, it's a fair comment. Yeah.
I don't agree with the fact. I understand there's a hierarchical thing about slips, but the captain always seems to go to first slip.
Well, it's interesting. They were talking about this because sometimes I've the skippers like to obviously in the past be at mid on, mid off, so can talk to bowlers. But with the advent of DRS, they were talking about it earlier on the commentary where they were saying that the captains now like to be at first slip, because they then have a better judgment about when they're making the DRS calls, whether they do the review or not. So does that mean then just the captains now have to force themselves to become better slippers so that they can read the game?
Or is the captain judged on being a good player all round, but also being a good slipper? Is that a criteria for selection?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's been selected just for the fact they're a good slipper. Yeah.
That's true. Thanks again, Munchie. I really appreciate it.
Guys. Yep. Wonderful. Sleep well, guys. Yep.
You're heading off to Lanzarote to be with Reg and that, man?
No, I'm playing golf Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, though. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, where are you playing golf?
Oh, it's the north of England, yeah. But it's midway between London and Manchester, Derby area. But the sun's coming out now, which is great for a few days. And then it'll be chucking it down the next weekend.
Yeah, we're getting it rain here in Sydney. So all the best, Munchie.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Time. If you're available, you can come on anytime.
Yeah, catch you soon, guys. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Yes, they did save me somewhat. I did have a rather ordinary summer. It's okay. So we have average sitting on away at home, 67. I'm not sure who any argument there with. Non-sequitur. Okay. Even Pajara Rahane, what have you written here? Even Pajara Rahane and Collier have scored plenty. Why not the same leniency? Okay. Now, Rajiv Sharma, who's got the members tag. India is really hard done by luck whenever they bat or are in a good position. The weather turns against them to be overcast. When they bowl with weather again against, it's true. There's been a bit of a consistency of England batting in sunnier conditions. That you are right. That's not playing, of course. We can't say it all. Root's the only top order batsman who was secure in the first one. He has to play the first slip. Yeah, if he can, but Tim, you don't put someone in first slip if they can't catch, can you? I mean, not all cricketers that are good batters and great leaders of the team necessarily good catchers. Yeah, I mean, but it does seem Ian Chappell was first, so Greg Chappell was usually second. They moved around that position. Steve Waugh was never a first slipper, though. Steve Waugh was never a first slipper. I don't think Alan Border was. Alan Border was a fantastic fieldsman, having played so much baseball, but he never was a first slipper as such. Mark Taylor was one of the best first slippers. Mark Waugh was not a captain, but he fielded well at the keeper. Currently, we have Tim Payne. Well, he's the keeper. And yeah, Steve Smith was usually around. Well, he wasn't always first slip. He was in the slip side. It's interesting. Is this the end of Ishant Sharma? Well, it does look like they might bring him back for a match in India as a farewell. They might give him that honour. That might happen against New Zealand, perhaps in the first Test matches there of the Indian season there at home. They might allow him to play for that. That might happen because he's still able to play at this point. Surprising, in slip catching has been better than England this series. Yes, Rohit Sharma's been fantastic. Kohli took a difficult one today, but Rohit Sharma, sensational. His second slip catch was. Tim Payne is overrated. A.M. Malik Chaudhry. He was the first choice keeper back when Steve Smith played his very first Test match, and they played at Lords. He was there. Then he hurt I think it was his index finger or parts of his hand or other fingers. He was out for a long, long time. Was about never to play again. In fact, he was in wilderness. He was about to go and work for one of the bat companies. I think it was Kookaburra, and they had almost an executive assistant to work for Kookaburra and was giving up cricket altogether. And out of the wilderness, he not only got returned back to domestic cricket into international cricket, he was made captain. It was intriguing. There was a very interesting dynamic how that happened. And Tim Payne has to be commended because he came back in as captain at a time where Australia were in absolute disarray, having lost Smith, Warner, and the other bloke, whatever his name was, the opener from Western Australia, who was, never to be seen again. Someone was needed to come in and steady the ship, and he did that. Now you're in a situation where they need to replace him. Yes. Norman, why can't you tell the reality? Why don't you tell the reality about what, Anil Prashant? What are you talking about? Explain what you're talking about. If we replace Stokes with Hamid Malan, is England a better team? If we replace Stokes with Hamid and Malan, is England team? No. Ben Stokes being replaced by Hamid, why would you? Ben Stokes is a different kettle of fish. He bats middle order. He plays up above middle order these days. But Hamid Malan is worthy of his place. Hamid, I'm not convinced on him. Middle orders of the Indian team. What do you think it would be a good total to defend for India, considering Odell historically has been good? But they're going to need well over 300. Well over 300 because they were 99 behind, so they're going to need at least 350 at least, and that's a big effort. 350 will take most of the third day's play. 350, which would in fact give them only a lead of around 250. So to get 450 would mean a 300 lead, or thereabouts, 350 lead. I don't think India are going to get 450. They haven't done that in the whole series, but they'll look for 350 at least. It depends on how the openers go. I meant if England brought back Stokes, is this basically England's best 11? Yeah, I think Malan deserves to be there. Hamid, no, I don't think he deserves to be. In fact, I still think Zach Crawley will somehow force his way back for the Ashes series because he's noted to be a batsman. You may see Malan go to opener and Zach Crawley coming at first drop. Pope, I'm seeing more of him now. He probably is firming as a lower middle order batsman. England's way ahead. Interesting you say that. They're not way ahead. They're ahead, but they're not way ahead. What happens to Anderson's knee? I don't think there's anything serious. I think it's just a combination of his age. I don't think he's in a serious situation with his knee at all. Kohli has a great chance to score a century in the fourth test, batting paradise on the third day. Well, it's about bloody time that, I mean, obviously, Pujara went very close previous test. Rahani's nowhere near it. Kohli looked particularly good with his 50 in the first inning, so he was deserving of 100 either way he was going. Speak about Smith, please. He's the GOAT. One thing you can mark down, Alice Self-Root will never get past Aussie quicks. Let's see about that. Anil Prasanth. Let's just wait and see. Sam Curran and Dom Bess are gone from this team. Rest in peace. I don't know about Dom Bess, I would say more likely. Sam Curran, even though Chris Wokes and Ben Stokes, if he comes back, are going to be ahead of him, I don't think Sam Curran's gone. No, I don't think so. This is the best chance for India to win the testing series in England. It certainly is. Sam Curran was always warming the seat for both Ben Stokes and Chris Wokes. And he did okay. I don't think he did badly. He batted poorly, but he did okay. Raju Sharma, both the teams have brittle batting lineups, except flashes of brilliance from a few individuals. If India manages to get a target in excess of 200, the England team is no one to panic. Oh, well, it'll make it interesting for them, yes. Ollie Pope looks superb. He's certainly getting there. Team selection for India is they're going to leave their upper middle order. 3, 4, 5 are going to stay where they are. And then 6 for that matter. I don't think they're going anywhere at this point in time. So I've released a video of Ollie Pope talking about his 80 on the team's performance. So that's not yet. Ollie Pope's probably not the most interesting guy, to be honest. He's a bit of a dull character. I'm not sure what's going on there with his character. And the live is a very big live show earlier today. It was pretty impressive. This is considering the time of night. It's not too bad. We'll get there. We will get there, guys. Let's try and work on it. The second hour's a bit weak, but all right. Okay, there's been something else that India won't bat 3 sessions, and that's the sad thing. Punt needs to save in his crease. Running down the wicket is predicted for bowlers. Yeah, unless he connects, it's not a problem. He should choose when to do that. You're right. Root's wicket is the next innings might be the turning point of the series. Yeah, that's true. Very much so. Very much so. If he's in there, he could be the backbone of the savior. We'll speak about our player mate, Steve Smith. Yeah, look, Seaman hasn't been seen, has he, since the Agate Test? The whole Australian team's in a bit of a state of quandary. If their next series will be IPL, the next series will be IPL, the next series will be the World Cup. Then if they are able to get out of quarantine, the Afghanistan Test, Australia will be very underdone for the Test series. I mean, Australia do traditionally pretty well at home, though. Only so. If India go on to lose this match as well, I could see a lot of changes in the last test. A loss would mean that the middle order fails again. So maybe Hanuma and Ash come in for Rahane and Jadeja. Ashwin coming into the last match, they do that. It'll be particularly bizarre. Tokenism for the series. But I'd like to see Vihari get a go. To be honest with you, someone needs to score a ton. Decent batting track, yeah. From either side you're talking about. Why players like Prithvi Shaw are yet warming the best? Well, they got players in front of them. They can play up at Vitality Blast well. They could be. But they're not here to do that. Okay, that's Sudeep Ajumdar. That's a fair comment, but it's anyone bowling for spin bowling. Yeah, I know Malcolm Conn very well. He probably won't come on the show. But I know him very well. Surya, good technical, but for Harry, sorry. Yeah, so Sky's been touted as a future player, but he's also not. I waited a long time to get his opportunity. He still is, in terms of pecking order, behind Agarwal and Vihari. So he can't just jump those two unless very specific circumstances occur, which I'm suggesting won't happen. Just let me quick look here. He's positive. Yeah, in attitude, yes. Tim Payne was right. No one likes Ashwin. Second best test bowler in the world and can't buy a game. There's something not, yeah, I still believe there's something not right there. I believe there's something not right there. That's my thoughts. I know people aren't saying that, but I think there's something not right there. Yeah, it's a mentality thing, yes, but it's difficult. It is. There's some very late movement and swing on the ball. Okay. I'm not getting a lot of. Okay. Prithvi is not technically ready for England conditions yet. Batters with 3 tours already are finding it hard. If Sky is included and he fails, we don't want him to lose form. Yeah, there's a bit of truth behind that. I think that Sky's inclusion on this tour was maybe a bit of a support of him in the way he's played, and it's like a promotion for him, even though he's not getting a game. Yeah, I think that their eyes are starting to quickly turn after this match. Be quickly turning to the impending World Cups and IPLs for sure, because the last Test match is actually washed out, like they're saying. This Test match will be the pivotal point where it's only 3 days left, and they'll be turning their mind very quickly to the next test. In fact, once India decide on their team for the 5th test, they're going to let the rest of the team go back, either quarantine or be parts of other teams. Yes, I agree. Rahane is more prone to be dropped than Pujara. Neither of them are going to be dropped for this test series, I'm afraid. That's what I'm saying. Indian batters need to play attacking cricket. They can't just block the balls. They need to play attacking. Yeah, I agree. Why are Australian main players not playing cricket from us? Well, the South African tour was cancelled. They've been concentrating on the shorter version of the game for the World Cups and having a bit enough attention to the long form. That's the reality. Roberts looks dumb, but he has great variations of. He's a very good bowler. Dumb, I don't think dumb. That's a bit hard. So you're saying that these players, Anil Prasad should be in the side. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar he was injured, came back, played the other series. Although he's a very good bowler, he's probably been more pigeonholed as a short form of the game bowler and wasn't in the series. Deepak Chahar the same. Thakur, well, he's here, and Pandya's not in the Test squad because his all-rounder status has dropped off because he can't bowl. Bumrah, well, he's obviously that's the ideal combination. Ideal combination for a test team. Interesting. I don't think that's although it's got a very strong merit to the playing lineup. I don't think it's going to happen. I'll also look here. You know, way to go between this and the other series. I'm going to go to 6 o'clock, guys. That's my limit, which will be just on 2 hours. Okay, what players do you think are missing the IC2? There's been injury prone, yes, untested for 5-day cricket, though he's still our best swim bowler and a very good batsman. Yeah, he is. What do you think? Are missing? I'm missing for the IC. I'm missing. I don't know. That's a difficult one to say. I haven't seen the site, so I don't know. Why do you think your subscriber count is not getting above? Thank you, but I don't know either. It's just the time of night. How's the morning, Norman? Human, I had a pretty late start. I can see the sun rising already out there in Australia. It's just a bit of pink in the sky. So I wouldn't mind even thinking about going to the beach actually and wake myself up properly. When will India announce the T20 squad? I believe it's straight after this test match, as a matter of fact. That's when they're going to announce, because at that point there'll be also certain players will be able to go back, and that's probably what they're going to do. Not sure whether my thumbnail exactly worked today. Okay. If England win the Test Series and the T20 World Cup, it's truly a golden period in English cricket. And that's rather positive in your thoughts. What is wrong with your shoulder? It just plays up. Today's pre-show was great. Thank you. So you're playing Buckle, the post-show's not? No, the pre-show was very good. We had David Gravely on there. We had a whole bunch of people. It was a very good mix. Jim Farbanek, the American, was a great inclusion too. He'll be more involved, and we'll get more and more of a take on Americans and the way they think about cricket. And he's a great judge. Jimmy is a very clever man. He knows a lot about cricket already and knows a lot about sport, as a matter of fact, and he's a very good judge. You live close to one. Yes, I live very close to, in fact, Human. Coogee Beach is only a kilometre away, if that. Have you watched any TV shows? Yes, I certainly have. See you in Manchester, mate. Thank you. England 2-1. England's T20 squad has excellent power batting. They do. England and India are the two standout favourites for the World Cup, with smokies like the West Indies and potentially even a Pakistan or a New Zealand. How deserted has Coogee Beach been nowadays? Deserted in terms of, because of the lockdown. You'd be surprised how many people are actually out there walking around still. There's still a lot walking around, don't worry. England have strong bench strength. Will not be the cakewalk for India in this series and for Australia and Ashes. No, England will be certainly they're going to give Australia a big shake when they come down to Australia. There's no doubt about that. All right, we're going to go to 6, guys. It's only another 6 minutes away, so far away. I think West Indies will win the T20 World Cup. I think they're going to do it. They're going to be in the top 3, England, India, and West Indies, absolutely. Against India, it will be cakewalk, but at Ashes, no way, mate. For England, you're talking about. Oh, look, India could win the series still. They're going to win this match and have won the series. because the last match was basically rained out, so that's pretty much an end to it all. So there's any comments coming up. Who is that? Harsh Gupta, you asked you those. It's the Rolling Stones. They're a famous rock group, a very famous rock group. They've been around for 70 years, or thereabouts, probably since the 60s at least. Incredible group they were. I can't get no satisfaction. Yeah. I don't think we've got furious bowls at all. I've got maybe how do you think Tucker's bowling? It was poor. I think a bit harsh. Rohit and Rahul are key for me. I absolutely agree with that. Seeker onlookers back works, and Williamson keep on playing, guiding to third man, positioning, field positioning. Okay. England have 10% chance of winning the Ashes. Very different from England Green Tops. 10% chance, that's a bit low. Did Tomo bowl to Graveny? That's a great question. We'll have to ask him. Graveny is 68 and Tomo is about 71, so there's a good chance they had some involvement together. We'll ask him. He hasn't mentioned it, but we'll ask him. Can they shift the last match to another venue? Is there any chance the match can work? That's a great That's a great comment. Why wouldn't they be able to do that? They shouldn't even be playing up there. You should have played it down here, down as in London itself. Great point. If they know the weather's coming, they should be able to do that, but they probably won't. They probably won't. The last 2 weeks of what? Yeah, there's a lot. Oh, guys, last 3 minutes. Tomo, Graveny, Vernon, Barnstead boy, Munchie, and will be a good cast for a POM versus Aussie show. Yeah, we basically have that except for Jeff Thompson. I will try and get Jeff Thompson back on again. He's had a fair stint with my show. We'll see if he wants to come back in. Specifically with those guys. Yeah, I think that will be a fair show. Want to see Curtis Patterson this summer. He's averaging. Yeah, he's much shouted. I think you will see Curtis Patterson back in. He's even a potential future captain. Love your service. Thank you, Kumar Alok. Shashank. Maybe a lost chance to Rahane. Yeah, Rahani's days are numbered. Draws are part of Test cricket unless England is winning on the boundary count. I hope not. That's cheeky. India team looks useless the last 2 weeks. That's too hard. Lord Siraj using wobbles being in place of regular thing. Good variation. Really pathetic and useless. Who? Pakistan is much better. Oh, okay, good. That's a bit of a harsh. It's not a matter of Pakistan being better or worse. Now let's not get into that sort of conversation. I think it's a bit moppy. For me, Wokes is the man of the match, no matter what is the result. He certainly has batted and bowled very well. He's been quite an important performance. What happens to Bumrah's leg? I think it was, we're hearing, Tim, that it was just a cramping. There was nothing serious. I think bowlers can be good captains or vice captains. My honest opinion, certainly not captains. Vice captains, I guess, but no, captains not. Who do you think can rescue in batting in second innings? Well, that's a great question. I think the openers are where it starts and finishes, really. If these two can get on and get 150 plus opening partnership, it'll set the scene for a good total, and at least it won't be against them. Talking about reverse swing in the last chat, India badly needed it, so they didn't get it there. Do you think the ICC needs to set some principles for any international cricket? Bangladesh can't just prepare wickets, the worst pitches. Well, I just don't think that's the case. I think it's like Australia having a Gabba green top, or England having swinging wickets, or India having swinging wickets. Nothing wrong with it. How can someone Crawley playing ahead? Well, Sibley was unusual from Crawley. I think we yet to see the best of him. I think he's still good. Normally, do you sleep on the afternoon? Yes, I try to sleep. Yes. If look, looking at the batting lineups, okay, they've had a bit of a weakness there. You should see this sunrise. It's beautiful out there. Beautiful conditions. All right, guys. It's gone 6 o'clock, guys. If you haven't got any more questions, I might leave, if you don't mind. Been on for 2 hours when I didn't expect to be on that long. How much do you think India need to feel safe? They're going to need at least a 250 lead, which means 350 score. Also bad outfield. I don't know. Indian team, Rohit, Rahul, Jadeja, Bumrah. Okay. After 5 or 6 years, India should be patient. Should open the floodgates for England. Pope is untested higher at the odd times grade. No, that's a bit early. Why Langer dropped Patterson after 2 tests poor selection? I don't know. That's a hard one. You mean Curtis Patterson, or are you talking about James Patterson? Pattinson. He's a Patterson Curtis. Don't know. He was injured actually. Spoiled well for Ashes. I'd say he will be. I think he will be. Okay. No more questions, guys? No more questions? Broad, hopefully, will fit in a few weeks. Yeah, he will be. But he scored a century on debut because, yeah, he deserved to be there. But he had an injury which put him out for some time. It wasn't just based on selection. Who do you think is ready to fill the boots of Nathan Lyon? Oh God, that's a hard one. Really hard one. I mean, Adam Zampa, I think, in the short form, probably deserves a go. They're also saying Ashton Agar and Swepson. No, I don't think so. It's going to be interesting to see who eventually replaces Lyon, because I don't think Lyon's going anywhere. C. Smith has arrived in the UAE. Well, he hasn't done much else, has he? It's not swing that they're playing for. It's for 6-stump line and getting beaten and incoming delivery. Yeah, they also need to not play the ball that wide. I think the ECB is intentionally allowing Java just to create some human now. I would ask, come on, I think it is a mental condition. They made that less having to wait for the openers to get out. There's always a thing. There's something when a middle order collapses. It's usually all players are just not in sync. There's somewhat of a, I don't know, there's somewhat of a breakdown in their batting. It's just hard to say, but Pujara, Rohani, and Kohli have all suffered. Although Kohli now has got 250s of late, Pujara got a 91. You know, he got out cheaply here, but let's see how it goes in the second innings. They've got to score better runs than the first innings. And Kohli did it. He got 50. He got 50, didn't he? Okay. Wicket are playing Eastham yesterday. Yeah. When you last visited the UAE? UAE last time was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. All right, guys. $29. Yeah, okay. When you last, both teams were under par in their first batting. It should be 291 first, 390 after second. Yeah, I think it will be right. Himanshu Chaudhary. I really hope Bailey will do selection on merit. I think so. I think he will. He's a pretty clever man. Are you visiting again? Yes, I will. Ashwin, Amishan are horrible. I agree for the T20 World Cup. Yeah. Today was flat wicket with decent weather. Yeah, you should see better batting performance coming up. Kumar, what's a good target for Kumar?
Alok, before I ask you, have you subscribed? Has everyone on the show subscribed? Please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and notification button, please. Kumar Alok. How much time was good for you? India are going to need to get 350 and have a 250 lead. That is to make this game become interesting. That's what it has to be. Is that enough? Well, if England bat well enough, they should cruise to that. But, you know, they only got 290 today. No, I don't think England would like to be chasing 300. Put it that way. All right, guys. We're literally gone 2 hours now. Despite me coming late, I've gone 2 hours, guys. And that's it now. So, all right, all the best to you guys. Jarvo interviewed Sports Tech. Jarvo was interviewed by Sports Tech, was he? I'll have to look at that. So I subscribed already. Thank you, Kamal. On that note, I will go. Thank you very much. So please view, like, and share the post. Share the post via WhatsApp or through Facebook Messenger or through your various methods. Subscribe. Hit the subscription button, notification button, and go to my Twitter and Instagram handles at Norm Koch, and my Facebook and my LinkedIn with my full name, Norman Kochner. This is Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochner. So Smith has arrived, and yep, that's great. Root will not fall in the next innings. Interesting. Umesh is also decent reverse swing bowler, although not sure about his pace. He's fantastic. Great player. All right, guys. All the best. We'll see each other soon again. All right, I've got to get going.